Hello, hello. Okay, looks good. Just put that there. Okay. Yeah, I'm Elizabeth. What are your names?
Lisa.
Lisa.
My name is Tim.
Tim.
My name is Holly.
Holly. Really nice to meet you guys. So we're doing. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. Thank you for meeting with us. We're doing a project for our interaction design class about tool and supply sharing with teachers, and so we just love to hear about any tools and supplies that you share here. Sharon helpfully told us that you guys do a lot of tool and supply sharing. You have a very unique system. Would you be able to tell me a bit about it?
Sharing supplies?
Yeah.
We have a closet that is centrally located that's art supplies that we all take from.
Mm-hmm.
Crafting, found objects, that is a little bit of everything in there.
Mm-hmm. We also have our library out in there it's got all the books in the school that's up for grabs for any class, any age group.
We have a make shop with tools and other kinds of miscellaneous things for inquiry activities that we all use, and anyone can borrow and use things from there. We also have to share that space, so there's a schedule for that.
Is the space shared between different teachers or between the children's school and someone else?
The whole school, just within the school.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have supplies in our classroom, which we often come and say, do you have any puzzles?
Yeah.
Do you have any?
I remember seeing this cool thing you used for this. Can we use it for our classroom?
I have one kid that can do 64-piece puzzles. Do you have any with the theme of whatever? And we share like that.
Our kitchen space. We cook. The kindergarten cooks. The extended day children cook. We use the different tools and gadgets.
Wow, so you guys share a lot of tools and supplies.
Yeah.
Food? Awesome.
All the food, snacks.
We have a teacher room where reference books are to share resources like that.
Mm-hmm. The playground is also a space that every age group uses. So all the tools and toys and materials there are shared materials and tools.
For the make shop, what types of tools are those? You talked about inquiry learning?
Hand tools, like hammers.
Okay, wow.
Hand drills, screwdrivers.
For the kids to use in class.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Glue
get to do that when
clay.
it's awesome.
There are 4 teams of teachers, and each team has one computer, and so there are 4 people on each team, or about 4 people on each team, so we share computers.
What's the flow of use like? Like, do the tools kind of live in their space and people use them whenever? Are there ever situations where 2 people need to use a tool at once, but like one person arrives and it's already being used?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
It happens a lot with books, I think. You have a book in mind that you'd like to read, and you go to get it, but it's already been checked out by another group. And so usually that just entails you go into like if Jean has But No Elephants, and I was hoping to read it tomorrow, I say, are you using that tomorrow at like 1:30 when I'm doing the circle? And if she is, I find a new book, and if not, she will maybe let me borrow it.
I might use it in the morning.
I think we try to be
Especially by
good
now.
at the communication, and it allows that to flow a little bit better with our planning.
We have a laminator that we all use for different kinds of
Office set.
Yeah.
things like that. So that's something that we
Printer,
we share that.
laminator, binding machine.
Paper cutters.
Yeah.
Work studies.
3-hole
We share
punches.
them.
Yeah, we do. We
Our
share
volunteers. So like if we need something laminated or copied several times, to kind of balance who needs help. Yeah.
And we often sub for each other. We sometimes one of the teachers would be in the classroom and you'll say, I'm subbing for Jean, who's actually supposed to be here right now, and then I'm going in the art closet. So we
Many hats.
Our outdoor space, our playground. There's a lot of things that we use. I guess the children are sharing those things more so than the teachers, but we are all using the space at different times to allow the numbers to be appropriate.
So is the typical process when you want to use something that is a shared tool or supply, you go to the location where it's kept, see if it's there. If it is, great, yours to use. If it's not, check with the person who's using it and see if you can coordinate something.
Except for books. There's a sign-out system for the books.
Ah, okay. Could you tell me more about that?
It's a computer-based system, so all the books are in this database, and we put our team name or our name and the date it's signed out. And when we return them to a central space, and somebody else puts them back so they don't get all mixed up.
That makes sense.
Or if you're really quickly borrowing a book, you're going to go across the shelf and then quickly put it back when you're done.
Yeah.
It's just
Called
one.
library thing? Is that right?
Library
That
thing.
same
It's
thing?
in the system.
Yeah, we all have our own ID kind of thing.
We also have painter sticks that we use that if you just are grabbing a book really quick to borrow, to slide the painter stick in to save a spot so you can return it yourself. But that's a better idea. It's a good idea.
I think at least mine are, like, we all have our own maybe shelf of personal books. And I know mine are in library thing. It just says they're my personal books. So if somebody wants to borrow it, they just come and ask me.
Yeah. So-
That's true for others too.
Did you guys know there's an app? Library thing?
No, but I'm seeing that
Yeah?
now.
It's really.
So there's a library thing app.
It's
So like you can go in, I just searched but no elephants, and you'll see each book has a set of tags. So like also if you're searching for like a book that just deals with feelings, you type in feelings and a bunch of books will come up.
Cool, so
But
you can
so
search.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, so like if you see here, it was signed out 5/12/17 by the threes team, but then it was returned 5/18. So like that's kind of the system that's used. And if the return tag isn't on there, you know that whoever signed it out still has it. But it's a nice.
All of our teams have laptops. We all share those. We write emails to the parents. We have a website. We write blog entries each day.
Oh, we share that duty.
We share those. Yeah.
So responsibilities are shared as well as schools.
And we have different spaces that, like,
We have the pretzels.
those of us who are teaching the 3-year-old group of children, we have a space where we keep our laptop, and that space is also used by researchers that bring children in and do computer game based research things. And then there's a space for the 4-year-old group of teachers, and all those spaces are all kind of not up for grabs exactly, but shared in different ways.
There's very little that's just one person's space. It might be a shelf in a cupboard where you put your purse or wallet or whatever, but very little, really. I mean, even where you put our coats, other people's coats are on top of them, you know. Yeah.
What are some things that work really well about the sharing, and are there any things that maybe could be a little easier?
Well, whenever you share something, you might have to track down the person who has it, and you spread the word. I'm looking for this. Do you know who has it? Or do you know where Jean is? I'm trying to ask her a question.
Yeah. And sometimes there's like a teachable moment, like a span of 3 minutes where if you have that thing, it's really useful. And if someone has it, then like, and that moment's gone. So like, that can be one of the hang-ups with having to share so many things. You might miss key moments.
Things get misplaced.
Sure.
There are. I think one of the benefits certainly is that it's more economical. It's like better stewardship of materials. In that way, I think the school does save money in that respect.
And space.
Yeah.
If everyone had the
we
same
would-
things,
there's no way.
we're already at our maximum space.
Storage is.
Yeah, we also all clean all of our spaces together. So like we have a chunk of time before the school year begins and when the school year ends. And so there are times when we know that there's a certain space that's been gaining more and more clutter. So we go as a group of 2 or 3 of us and go through and make the decision to get rid of things or buy new additions to what has already been used.
There's occasionally a drawback on the computer sharing when we're not teaching, we have a professional development day and we're all supposed to be doing something on a computer. So boss says, please bring your own personal laptop. And if you don't have one, or don't have one that travels, have a desktop or whatever, it can be a little, because every computer doesn't have the same software. So if you're trying to work on something and this and this and this computer aren't updated or can't be updated because they're old, then it's frustrating. It can be frustrating. But those are not very many days.
And I was going to say, even in the last year, we've added the use of the iCloud.
Yeah.
So sometimes if I work at one computer, I'll save it up there, so I know if I can't get to it the next time around, I can go to another computer but still access the information.
It sounds useful.
You can sit down at any one, unless the program you're using is not updated. I think that's a technology issue that lots of people have.
Yeah, software compatibility stuff. Were there any specific events or considerations that made you create this current system of the types of things you share and where you keep them?
I'd say just over time, we keep learning different ways to do things or better ways to store things or preserve things or throw away things that aren't necessary.
I can say for the library system that our selection of books has grown so much, and it became necessary to have some kind of database
For quick retrieval.
How long have you had the database for, roughly?
Library thing.
5 years?
This might be the third or fourth year. I don't think it's right. Fourth. I'm going to say around 4.
Yeah,
That's
something
a
like
safe.
that.
It's been a few years.
Before that, it was a printed list, and everything was alphabetical. So, if you remembered the name of the book, no, lies. Library thing was alphabetical. Before that, it was by like books. So,
Categories.
all the fall books were together. But that was difficult.
And there was no system. It was just kind of, it should be here. Let's go check.
And at one time, there were little cards in them and you signed, like at a regular, but it just fell apart.
Yeah. Well, we all play so many roles that I don't think anybody can be assigned as librarian in addition to their other work. So.
Too much. So that was necessity, and technology allowed for that to be possible.
Yeah, I can imagine as you start getting more and more.
I think the other systems of sharing that's kind of the way this school started, and it's always been that way.
And I think there's something to our boss hiring at different times with the mindset of, will this person get along with everybody else? And I think there's a good sense about hiring that makes it possible for.
So it sounds like you guys have a real community of people who are kind of in line with sharing a lot of things and being communicative about it.
Yeah. I was going to say, one of the practices that we have in place is that at the end of the year, we'll sit as a staff and we'll review the shared spaces. We'll say, how did the make shop work this year? What worked well in terms of making sure everyone gets what they needed? What problems did you have with how this space worked? And we'll sit as a group and review that, but then we'll implement new ways in the fall that we discussed at the end of the year.
Tell me some more about, maybe if you can remember anything from the most recent one. any specific changes that happened? Or anyone that comes to mind from the last couple of years?
Well, if we're staying on the make shop, that's new to us. So how many? This is
the second year.
Second year of that. Or is it the third year?
It's a second.
Seems like forever. Since there are children that are not even yet 3 in the fall, all the way up to kids who are starting to turn 6 in January, or occasionally before that, finding things that are appropriate for that age span was, I think it was at first, we thought it was going to be this giant challenge, but as we lived it, we found out, oh, you know what, it kind of worked out. But you had to be flexible if you go in and it's a mess with things that were appropriate for the older kids. Not a giant mess, but things are out. You just say, oh, these are closed, and push them aside and just think about the things you need. So I think we're all pretty good at adjusting when things happen. But again, as Tim said, those things we talk about at the end of the year, and then try to be more cognizant of, well, there are 3-year-olds coming in here, so we can't have these tiny little beads. Put them up when you leave. You know.
There's other things I think that we try experimentally in other ways. Like we have our summer camp program in the month of June, and when in February or March we always do a big family festival. So sometimes we try something that we may not have at those times because they're smaller chunks of time, so it wouldn't be such a big commitment if it didn't work out. So even like our parking and drop off and dismissal for our families, that has kind of evolved over the years to see that's a shared space, because there's spaces for staff and visitors. So we share this parking lot with our infant lab down the hall. Well, I guess I wouldn't say our infant lab, but
Psychology.
yeah. So that's a shared space that has over the years been kind of teased apart in terms of what can we use, what can we not use, what works and doesn't work. We went from a one-car system of parents coming down the driveway to pick up their child, and in our June camp one year, we experimented with having 2 cars, and it worked. So we used it for the school year. So I think things that there are brief opportunities of time to try something, and it works, then we implement it in the next year. Or if it doesn't, then there's not such heavy consequences. So.
I have an example of one, and it has to do with shared space. We have a morning program that ends at 11:30, and then some of those children stay for an extended period of time till 1 o'clock. So everybody's sharing rooms. The 11:30 friends go home, the other ones come in, and they use a space that then has to be cleaned up so that the afternoon children can use it. So we have a system, and because we've had a consistent staff over the past 4 years, we've been able to work out the system where, one teacher leaves with the children, the other one is sort of in the middle, helping children transition over to the next space, and 2 teachers stay behind. Eventually the third one goes over, and then finally the fourth one gets everything cleaned up in that room ready for the next group and comes to the next space that we're using. But that is an incredible coordination. It doesn't always work.
And I still don't know how to do it.
Sometimes we're not cleaned up. Sometimes someone's sick and there's no substitute, so you're 3 people and you have 24 children trying to wash their hands at the same time, and it doesn't work. But we say, okay, tomorrow we have to do that differently. Some of the glitches happen when there's bad weather. We can't go outside because there's this dance of schedule of using space. And when you can't go outside, you got to figure out, okay, well, I'm using this hallway, you're using this room.
I think there's other ways that processes have evolved. Like for our dismissal process, we have a teacher looking with binoculars out at the cars, a tag that's in their window, so that we know which child is next to dismiss. And somehow over time, it used to be that a person would see the name and then shout down the hall to the teacher at the end of the hall. And then it evolved that somebody got a piece of paper and started writing the names. And we would often have one or two children by our side enjoying the process. And so over time, the children became part of it. We had toy binoculars for them to look out the window, and we've allowed them to be part of the process by giving them the paper and their messenger that sends it to the person at the end of the hall. So that was an organic evolution to that process, because we never said let's try this. It just kind of came to be, and it stuck. So that was one of those things that we do. We all share that space, and the amount of congestion that's in the hallway at that time, it just kind of lended itself to, I think, trying something.
I'm trying to think of one space that isn't shared in the school, and they all are.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except for the director's office.
Just wanted to go back to, you talked about how you have a more formalized system for the library and less so for other things like craft supplies. Have you ever considered trying a more formal system? Do you think it could work? Wouldn't be worth the trouble? What are your thoughts about that?
I don't think anybody wants to.
Nobody wants another system. There are so many schedules, and the beginning of the year trying to memorize where you have to be when is hard enough, and which children are where, when, and all of that. I really think every time it's mentioned, let's make a system for this, it's kind of like, no,
I don't
let's
want
just
not one more schedule.
Right, because it's
Tim was balancing us today. We were all like, I don't remember what it
It
was.
was about who was setting up the playground today.
Playground.
You were like, do we have a schedule for that? And I was like, we don't, and I don't want one. We can figure it out by talking on
I'll do
Friday
it,
morning.
today or whatever.
Yeah.
But the art closet thing, it's such, you have a limited amount of time to get what you need out of there and set up whatever you're setting up, unless you stay late or come early. And so to have to write it down, what you take and what you take, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
No, we all have responsibility if we lose the last of something to say we did it. And again, that falls apart sometimes.
And we have two staff people that are like the art closet point people, and they have designated time to go in and do an inventory and say like, look, no more white paint. We got to order white paint, or we have to order more pom-poms or something like that.
Use these wood sticks this week.
Right. And so all the staff know who those point people are for those things, so that if Jean does go in and take the last of the blue paint, she could go to Chrissy and say, I used the last of the blue paint. I know you're not going to check that until Monday, but we should probably order some sooner than that.
That makes sense. I see people are wrapping up. Do you guys need to get back to everything?
No, but we didn't mention the research, because this is a lab school that we wouldn't be here for research, that is shared time. So we have to be really careful with our schedules so that they get done what they need to get done in addition to us teaching the children.
Makes sense.
And that's a pretty serious business. I mean, you just have to stay on schedule. And that is sometimes hard as a teacher.
Yes.
Speaking of this is the moment when you can take advantage of this teaching opportunity, and you can't do it because you have to. But it is the way it is.
That makes sense. Okay, well, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but thank you so much
Did you get
again.
everything you needed?
Yeah, this was really helpful.
Good.
And very interesting. I had no idea that all this happened at the children's school. It's really cool to hear about.
You got the ins and outs.
Yeah, the inside scoop. Okay, it was really nice to meet you guys. Thanks again so much. Thank you.
Let us know.
Enjoy your weekend.